Good evening, everybody. System Chalk here with the 75th episode of Cultist Simulator, the Dancer DLC. So we have should have finished our ivory change. My bones are different. They carry the tale of what is lost. If I do not survive, they will be my tale, and someone will wear fragments of my ivory to warm against their skin. And so what we want to be doing, essentially, at this point, is moving to our win. Now, this is likely going to involve heart influence. Probably, I'm guessing that actually pulsing hairs may not be enough, but at least we've got it to see where we fall short. And I'll be honest, the one thing I'm not clear on is whether I need to use the Ecdysis Club, or if I need to use the change in one of the rites. So we're going to experiment with that and see where we go. If I do need to do it in the ritual, I'm in better shape because I have so many other sources of heart aspect. If I need to use it for the dance, then I have my health, but certainly we're short on some of the things we need. In fact, this is going to be inconvenient if this health isn't available, but we'll see. Blinking of the light, now I understand. Okay. The stage awaits, hot and clean and bare and bright. If I move the moves and step the steps and do what is required, they'll pay me. So we didn't have an opportunity to do a special move there. So let's just see what's happening at the Ecdysis Club. So if we take our change, a great work. We'll add the Ecdysis Club. We'll add this influence for now. Alright, yeah, work at the Ecdysis Club, Thunder almost. And turns out we only need 3 of the abilities, so yeah, we aren't there yet. Tonight we are masked and move like celebrants. Mr. Ecdysis watches closely. So, what my answer here is going to be, I think, to be honest, the likelihood of me having enough hard influence is pretty slim. But there are a couple things I can do to try and extend this while I try and get something else to be able to get the upgrade in. So what we're going to do here is we will do a painting with the hard influence. This will extend the life of the notoriety, but I'm not going to complain too much about that. You never know, this might be a living. Add passion to make distinctive paintings, add mystique, and especially notoriety to attract attention and make more money. Be careful, if you use notoriety, exhibiting paintings will keep you in the public eye. This should have an impact. Alright, so let's see how it works. So, Season of Visions coming up. That means that this consciousness of radiance has become quite a bit more dangerous. And whenever the principle of heart is implicated, I may gain vitality. So the nice thing about this is that when if it turns out that we need to upgrade heart aspect again for combining it into something, I'll at least be able to use the vitality to upgrade the low level heart. Now ideally we don't need to do that. Ideally I'll be able to get the influence elsewhere, but that gives me sort of a secondary what am I trying to say? It gives me a second way of getting the influence that I need. I think we can pay for the paints. I'm a little, concerned about my overall financial situation, but we do have a reasonable amount of reputation inside of this. Crowded thoroughfares by day, a fog-wrapped labyrinth by night. I'll set my minions to searching for opportunities. The sick room grows close and stale. It's time to get up. So, I don't have a fleeting reminiscence, and now I've got the fascination to worry about. I think the way I'm going to handle this is I will use the fascination in in bringing someone into the cult, and this is mostly just because I'd like the opportunity. I mean, one thing I can do is just try and go through the white door, and then see if we get lucky with the spider's door later, I suppose. That might be the better option, actually, because this heart's going to expire reasonably soon. So So now I can approach the white door through the bounds. Now I can press my fingers to it, feel its chill, watch it swing open. As it opens, my mouth closes, tightens, heals over like a lost deformity. Around and about me is the cobalt light of the Mantis. For talk, we're going to do two things. I've increased my knowledge of the secret histories behind the one we know. Now, this was purely for cosmetic purposes. There's really nothing for me to, to gain here. One actually sneaky thing I could try and do is to turn this influence. So I think if we got... Oh, moth. So yeah, I probably could have done something with the... I probably could have done something with that consciousness of radiance, now that I think of it. It's a little too late now, but with the talk verb, we'll get rid of the fascination using it, and then next up, what we'll do is we will get rid of... we'll imprison the hulking fellow. Now, to be honest, I don't need to worry that much about the fleeting reminiscence because we're going to get the fascination, because we'll get a fleeting reminiscence from the Season of Despair. But I generally don't like having, sort of threats kind of hanging out on the table, because all of a sudden, if I get another fascination from something, let's say I get it from the white door, it may not be that fleeting reminiscence comes up, and all of a sudden I've got two fascination. And I don't think the fleeting reminiscence would expire by that time, but essentially I just put myself in a more difficult situation. And again, it's a little bit like how I tend to speak more so about the positives. So if I have an opportunity to do something that will, bring me, a good thing with a small probability, and I try and do that as many times as I can in the background. That's, generally I want to try and do that. Like, that's something that I would like to put some pretty careful and specific effort into. But there's another version of that, which is if there's something that's going to provoke a negative response, it's not something that I want to take advantage of a whole lot. So a good example of this might be the using money in the dream verb to buy some opium. And I mean, this is probably also true for life. Generally you don't want to do that as your way of getting out of problems. And I mean, again, if I want to be, sufficiently open-minded in terms of my, my views or whatever, it's maybe not even an argument against whatever substances you may be in. But I think there's a meaningful difference between, let's say the recreational use and using it as a substitute for solutions. Now, the fact of the matter, I mean, one of the things that's interesting about Cultist Simulator, and I kind of wish that more games that wanted to tackle these subjects kind of had the courage of their convictions to be honest about it. Like, the thing about Cultist Simulator is that it can actually help you, right? It can be the thing that keeps you from that it can be the thing that keeps you from a loss. But there's always the risk. There's always the potential for the side effect. And, likewise, if you, just like with the positive aspects, if you keep rolling the dice on that over and over and over again, and there's the chance that the good thing will happen. Same idea with the events that'll potentially have negative consequences. The curses are a great example here, right? We wound up losing 2 of the passion to curses, whereas most playthroughs I never lose anything to curses, and it just so happens that this is the playthrough where where passion for my moth is actually quite important. So. Is there a big lesson out of that? I mean, essentially, it's a similar principle to something that I was talking about before. Where I can, I try to maximize the number of positive side effects and minimize the number of negative side effects. But there's the negative side of it, I don't get as much of a time to talk about. Also, just because I feel like there are fewer. Let's say, voluntary events where there are negative side effects. In the case of most of the expeditions, I think if you're on the Dancer DLC, you can generally skip the other expeditions and just go and perform your dances, assuming you have other ways of obtaining the things that you need. And then there are a few things that you can do, but largely I'd say the expeditions are something that you're intended to do and you should do. And so it's kind of hard to see those as negative side effects of voluntary actions, whereas, you know, some of the other things that I run into are voluntary actions. For instance, do I really need to move the percussivant out? I mean, I am getting kind of a source of sacrifices for the spider's door that way. That's not too bad. But, you know, one of the big reasons for choosing this over the Caligain is just simply that the percussivant has the likelihood of generating a course of the heart, whereas the Caligain is going to be generating moth, and moth will have glimmering, good, for normally good. I don't really need any more lore. But it also has the potential of generating old, unhappy, far-off things, which in this case is not an influence I'm really looking to get. So, with that in mind, let's imprison... Or no, sorry, we're not imprisoning the hulking fellow. We are getting rid of the fascination first. So, are we... I guess we're bringing in this hanger on. Fascination's actually kind of the best one here because it already has moth. We don't really need to use the... We don't really need to use any of the lore for it. It's a little bit like Dread with Edge. This is work I can be proud of. With enough publicity it will sell. And another chance for professional muscle. Alright, lots of goodness there. So, my recent work is considered notable. I've exhibited the latest paintings publicly. Surely someone will buy something. So we've got 24 seconds before we know what's on the other side of the white door. I kind of let this become a bit too much of a mess. That's fine. But 19 seconds left on the pulsing airs. 56 seconds, that's really, really close. But I think I'm willing to roll the dice with the ecdysis, or the gaiety for now. It would be nice to use the other notoriety, but I should probably just take advantage of the extra time. I noticed that there was a staleness, so I'm going to have to deal with that too, but the Wolf Despair prowls elsewhere, and Season of Contentment coming up, so overall we're in good shape. Okay, time to imprison the pawn. So we get 2 attempts at the spider's door, but it does take a minute each time, so, you know, there are some potential risks here. The best, of course, is if we can just upgrade the lore from the white door, but it is it's not guaranteed. So we'll proceed as if it's not happening. This one must serve another purpose now. Into the cupboard they go. And we've got Count Jannings. I'll use that for a chat when I can. Okay, what else do I want to do with talk? Well, I guess we can have a chat with Jannings first. Nice! And we have the study verb just in time too. I've neglected my studies, but I stand a little straighter. Okay, so this actually potentially gets us a chance to have a really powerful heart upgrade. Ah. So I'm trying to remember, I think it's actually at the entrance for the spider's door. The spider's door is always thirsty, always. The blood I have given leaks in threads and spills through the skin of the world, and the door drinks it. At a moment's satisfaction swells its opening until I can pass. If you can just give me one quick... I'm sorry to have been distracted on the last couple of videos, but I have to deal with something very, very quickly. And I'll be back. Okay, sorry about that. As you can kind of tell from the previous videos, I've had a little bit of trouble sort of getting everything sort of where it where it needs to be. Sorry, getting things done on time. So it's, yeah, I'm kind of scrambling all over the place. But I did want to make sure that I got the week's videos done on time. So I don't know. I did it hoping that I wouldn't. I did it hoping that I wouldn't. Wouldn't be distracted, but I wound up with just a couple things. All right, here we go. The spider's door is always thirsty. The blood I have given leaks in threads and spills through the skin of the world, and the door drinks it, and in a moment's drinks it, and a moment's satisfaction swells its opening until I can pass. Should have just stuck with the first reading there, but there we go. Plan is, so we've got a minute on the pulsing airs. We've got however long it takes me on the painting. We combine the pulsing airs into something higher. With luck, we will also get a higher level heart from the spider's door, so we can upgrade it to something even higher. But that is kind of banking on basically a couple of things working in my favor at once, which, you know, we're never guaranteed. Okay, looks like Madame Bichet also has an empty commission, so she's seeking pieces for the notorious Carisham Review. This is work I can be proud of. With enough publicity, it will sell. Okay, so there's a couple things that I want to do here. My recent work is considered significant. I may yet earn a living from this, but nothing is certain. So, 2 funds. I mean, we basically got what we would have gotten working at the Gaiety. Fortunately, we didn't lose the job. We actually have 9 seconds left on that, which is good. So we'll do our performance. The stage awaits, hot and clean and bare and bright. If I move the moves and step the steps and do what is required, they'll pay me. I'm going to take the pulsing airs here. Now, I really want to run the clock out on these because essentially the longer it takes me to finish the study here, the more opportunities I have to go to the spider's door and see if I can get something better. So that's the plan here. Now again, as you've noticed, I've been easily distracted, so that does potentially have some consequences as well. But because I know this is the difference as to whether or not I can perform my final dance, maybe that will focus the mind a little bit more than it normally would. Sorry, I'm just taking a minute here to... So we'll have a third notoriety on the table before too long with the betrayal of the professional muscle, but we'll also hopefully just give the Suppression Bureau the slip before too long. Okay. It may make some sense for us to have a chat with one of the Heart followers to clear this out as well, but I want to leave the talk verb open for the betrayal. This will buy their loyalty for now. Now, you may have noticed, for those of you who haven't played since a patch from a little while ago, followers no longer expire, and you actually have the option of converting them as well. So the idea of sort of running out of followers or cultists isn't as big of a threat. It's not something I've personally ever run into, but it's definitely a threat that sort of drives me to perform the actions that I do. But in this case here, even if you are careless with your cultists, you do have the option of bringing in some new ones from your hires. So where was I? This one must serve another purpose now. Into the cupboard they go. Okay, 5 seconds. And we have a Season of Despair coming up, so I don't think we have anything that'll generate dread for us, but we'll see. This is a little dangerous here. It's not really giving me the proper countdown, so I definitely would want to keep an eye on what's going on. All right, interweave the rhythms unceasing. There are lessons the anatomist, the dancer, and the shaman all learn. This will upgrade your heart influence. So I think the plan here will be we paint with the upgraded heart using passion to get the staleness taken care of. And I think I am going to send Dorothy out to improve our reputation. Not everyone is sympathetic to our aims, but if we have problems with our reputation, our disciple can probably smooth them over. Okay, so we've intensified this heart influence. We now have pounding airs. We need to wait for the performance of the gaiety to finish, of course. If we get another pounding airs, which would come from the dream, we get an opportunity to raise the level, and if we don't, then we probably want to try and use that in the dance as early as possible. Alright. Swindler isn't a death sentence. Okay, so this was a favor of authority. This doesn't really help me here, so we'll go to the Mallory. Oh, right. And we've got the Blaze of Radiance. So, last night in the Mansus, I visited the Mallory, from whose impulses and rotations one does not emerge unchanged. There are many radiances there, from the fires in the forge and her names and her instruments, but one radiance lingers behind them all, like a fading music. The last light of the sun in splendor, shed in the moments of his division, here where the forge is strongest. Now that I have awoken, I see that radiance still. Blaze of radiance, every color has grown bright as new dye, but now all of them begin to bleed towards white. So this would be helpful if it was heart, not so helpful in its current form. So we will go through the spider's door again. Again, this is decaying every second that I'm not using it, but I don't have anything I can really use it for right now. I guess I can be cheap and keep it in the study verb. I felt other eyes upon me. Afterwards I received a gift from an admirer, too gaudy for my tastes, but I can sell it on the second-hand market. Okay. So what we can do here, again, we've got staleness to deal with. It's actually level 3 staleness, so I guess we were lucky to get the money that we did. But the nice thing here is this will allow me to extend the life of the pounding airs, so we can actually probably get 2 of those paintings in if I feel the need. And again, it's worth mentioning if we really get in desperate straits, we do have the option of sort of brute forcing some hard influence in the form of upgrading from what we can find in the white door. It just winds up being a bit of a pain to try and accomplish. So. Better not. I must be careful of the company I keep. Alright, Forbidden Epic, so... An incandescence, change follows fire. The spider door gapes. Last night in the Mansus, I visited the Mallory, from whose engines and avenues one does not emerge unchanged. I watched the processes of sunset, and I entered the amber joy, and the white joy, and the blue joy, and I was subjected to the enlightenments of calcination, and the forge of days touched me with her burnished fingers. And I rise from my bed with the utter knowledge that all nights, all nights, all nights must end. Alright. So this is the last follower that I've got available for sacrifice without, you know, dipping into my valuable followers. I did get lucky with a notoriety being picked up, so I guess the heart followers have justified their existence for a little bit longer. I think we'll just do another painting with the heart influence. So, and I would like to get rid of the notoriety, so let's just run that again. Alright, my recent work has attracted a couple of callers. With luck, something will sell. And again, we've got enough time with the gaiety. I don't think we can get 3 paintings in, but we can definitely get a second. We can definitely get a second one in. And we did lose a. Oh, right, but we don't have the. Well, you know what? Honestly, I do want to keep that. Those pounding airs. So even though staleness is a little bit of a drag, not having not having the tools that I need for the ascension is even worse. So what happens if it doesn't turn out with the spider's door? Then we got to think about how I'd handle the contract at the Gaiety. Actually, I might have to just take the scolding and try to work at the Ecdysis Club. Oh, I didn't even pay attention to the fact that we've got a season of suspicion now, so that's also going to have some problems, or cause some problems. And we've got a shifty woman, so again, not something worth committing a murder for. Ugh. No luck. I'm gonna guess this is not gonna be sufficient, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. So moving ahead, let's just go to the white door. Now I can approach the white door through the bounds. Now I can press my fingers to it, feel its chill, watch it swing open. As it opens, my mouth closes, tightens, heals over like a lost deformity. Around and about me is the cobalt light of the Mantis. Okay. So again, I want to think about how I can preserve the pounding airs, given that we don't have a way of upgrading it. But the first thing we will try is the contract at the Ecdysis Club. Oop. Yep, almost, but not what we needed. So again, it kind of comes down to, am I willing to take the hit at the Gaiety? I kind of have to. Excuse me. But it would be nice to think about some ways that I can preserve the pounding airs. So I'll start here. I'll be cheap and just keep it in my study verb for a little bit. I always feel bad doing this, but I also feel bad sort of wasting too much time in the episodes. So if I have nothing else to do and I'm just waiting, I sort of feel a little more okay juggling cards. But I don't know. It'd be nice to play by the rules. All right. I think the biggest problem is that I can't really think of any other places where I might wind up with the higher level hard influence. I think the best you can do comes from the spider's door. I'm pretty sure it's the entrance. And once you get that, so I think if I talk about influence, nope. Yeah, so this really is the only place that I can. I was always wondering if there was just some way. I mean, so far as I can tell in the game, there isn't. But I was always wondering if there was just some way to turn. Like to turn some kind of like basically a permanent object, so something like rose pearl dust, into an influence. It sort of feels like the kind of ritual one might perform. But yeah, so far as I can tell, you can only get the influence from dreams. So I was thinking maybe you could talk about the influence, but that's something that you do with lore, not influence. So in the meantime, I think, yeah, trying to get rid of reputation is probably the best call right now. So we will. And the other thing, oh no, can't talk about influence. So that bought me a bit of time. We get 2 paintings out of that too, so now that there may be some problems in terms of keeping a roof over my head, but we can preserve the pounding airs at least until we get some more sacrifices. I may have to lower my standards in terms of sacrifice subjects, but White door opens. The sun in splendor, the hour who once ruled the Mansis, was known to walk the orchard before his terrible division. Sometimes his remnants walk here still. Sometimes I see the chilly radiance of the Menascape through the trees, or the chillier radiance of the sun in rags. Were they to come upon me, it might be my end, but to see them in the distance is the gift of insight. Okay. So we do have a Season of Visions coming up, so I need to get rid of the Fascination. Now that has, I mean, that's a shame, because clearly that's time that I'm not spending getting, that's time that I'm not getting the influences that I need, but, you know, I only have so many options. Alright, Fortune Teller. Again, like, am I willing to hire the Fortune Teller to snuff them out? I may actually just start sacrificing some of the pawns because they're readily available and I'm probably not going to have any use for them. Alright, there's the notorieties. And we don't have the Callagine, but we do have a Trembling Heat, so I'm not too worried about if we need to... I mean, honestly, I wouldn't even use the Trembling Heat at this point. I'd probably just use one of my Moth followers. Okay, Season of Despair coming up. Again, the real worry is Fascination, given the types of influence I'm picking up, and I think that's going to be true throughout. Okay. And once again, we take our skill Never Know. This time we have to use Reputation, which I'm not crazy about, but... And again, like I said, the thing that's the real drag here is that I'm not any closer to getting the influence that I need to upgrade this lore. Although there's a couple things I can do to improve that. So we have the Consciousness of Radiance. I want to be a little conscious of what can happen there. What I can do here, though, is... Yeah, I can actually sacrifice a pawn. And I think I'm willing to do that. Oh. I forgot they need to be prisoners. I thought you could have a willing sacrifice. Drat. I don't... oh, no. Yeah, we'll have enough time, but... Bombmaker's a willing... is an acceptable choice. Okay, so yeah, we'll get rid of our Grail pawn. This one must serve another purpose now. Into the cupboard they go. That's of course more notoriety. That's not great. So it does actually seem like the Spider's Door is a bit of a notoriety machine. But we can always clear that out. What I should probably do though is start sending some Grail followers out to bring in more captives. That seems to be a slightly more effective way than hiring. And of course we'll also need to clean up the reputation afterwards, but let's start with Saliba. So, a sufficiently persuasive disciple can probably lure a susceptible companion back to us. And we are a few minutes over. I just want to see, we'll give it the 30 seconds to see whether or not the... Oh wow, we really knocked the... staleness back on that one. But I want to see whether or not the trip to the Spider's Door pays off. Well, this is definitely going to turn into a fascination, so there's going to be consequences there. And we've got tentative evidence, so I'm also going to need to clear that out, or I'm going to need to ascend before it becomes a problem. So as you can see, I'm really starting to let the wheels kind of fall off. It's actually, the analogy I always like to draw is when I was in high school, I wasn't necessarily bad at my studies. I also, like, I don't think I was exceptional. But one thing that was definitely true is when oh, there it is, there's the pounding airs. So we just needed to give up something precious, a grail follower, and we got the upgrade that we needed. But yeah, the analogy that I draw here is that I kind of knew I was going to pursue a career in the film industry near the end of high school. And so you can sort of see, if you were to look at my transcript, you can actually really see the moment where I choose that. Because all of a sudden, a lot of the very good, like, quantitative and, like, scientific courses I have a big drop in terms of performance. Like, I do what I need, but I don't necessarily pay a lot of attention. But, like, all of a sudden, you know, I'm taking, you know, drama, or, you know, there was like a video production course, you know, the English course, you know, do quite well. And of course, the great irony is that I don't work in film now. I did, but I'm an economist. And if you've never had to take those courses, it's really, especially if you do graduate work, it's really important to know math. So it's I had a little bit of repairs to do, but it's kind of funny, right? Like, I would not recommend, like, the thing is, the biggest thing that I would say, and maybe you can draw an analogy to Cultist Simulator. Like, I have a feeling that if I were to be a character in the Secret Histories, I would be very focused on a set of works. Maybe not one particular principle, but I have a feeling that I would not actually study all of them that carefully. I would probably have some very strong preferences, probably along the lines of, like, Lantern and Knock, and maybe a couple others. But yeah, like, definitely, given the fact that I have this single-minded, you know, approach to preserving those pounding airs in the study verb and just letting everything else sort of fall apart, definitely makes me recall past indiscretions. And of course, the drawback here is that I really wish I had better understanding of chemistry and physics. And apparently, biology isn't a science, but no, biology was one that I always had a little difficulty getting a grip on. But it's like anything, it's all very interesting. You just sometimes need the right opening to become interested in the subject. The spider door opens. Last night I roamed the clustered organs of the spider's door. I found a node of particular vitality, all that remains of someone brave or someone betrayed. While the thirst of the spider's door was yet quiet, I brought it home in a fold of my soul. Oh man, that's a really good little bit of writing given what we did to get that. So, looks like we are well on our way to our objective. So, on that note, even though this was an extended episode, I will leave it here. Have a wonderful evening, and I have a feeling that probably I can count on seeing most of you tomorrow. I don't want to take that for granted, but I suspect people want to see how this thing turns out. So, have a good one.